Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I am playing Ranked. You're witnessing my first game once I reach the first division. So, Ranked in World of Tanks. I haven't really talked about it too much recently. That's because I've noticed that Ranked just isn't really that popular. Now, it's not like I want to only make videos on things that will be popular in World of Tanks when I think that something needs to be talked about, or just it's my channel. When I want to make videos on a certain topic, I will make them. But one thing that I have noticed is that people are just seeming to care less and less and less about ranked battles in World of Tanks. I've noticed that less people are actually participating. Although there is a small audience, I feel, of very dedicated players who seem to, all they do is play about maybe 6 hours of ranked every single day. And if you want to get towards the top, yeah, you don't have to play 6 hours a day. But unless you're an exceptionally skilled player, we're talking about playing maybe 30 hours or 20 to 30 hours or even more over the 3-week period the ranked will be available. Now, I personally had to get ranked done fairly quickly because let me think about when I'm going to be releasing this video. I'm kind of pre-uploading these videos so you guys have still got some content to enjoy while I'm in Belarus. I'm in Minsk. I'm going to be enjoying a nice holiday there for a week, but I wanted to get you guys some videos. So does it even count as going away on holiday if I actually just make more videos before I leave and then upload them? Huh. Maybe, possibly. Guess I just have to work a little bit harder before I go, right? It doesn't really count as work though, man. I'm just an idiot sitting here in my pajamas talking about a game that I love. So, yeah. Anyway, I digress. Let's focus on what's at hand. So I'm talking about ranked. I'm talking about how much time you have to invest. And there are players out there who have been willing to invest a hell of a lot of time. Unfortunately for a lot of us, and I guess myself included, the way that wargaming rewards people for playing ranked is that only the top percentage, or I think the top 10% are going to get the top ranking, and then the next 20% get I think silver, and then the 30% after that will be able to, or 20 or 30% after that will be getting bronze. And so when less people are interested in playing ranked, or shall I say qualifying for the divisions that wargaming seem to want you to, that means there's going to be less overall rewards. Now, personally this season I wanted to do something a little bit different. In the previous seasons I pretty much played meta kind of vehicles. Well, outside of the Clan Wars tanks, right? Because I don't have those because I don't participate in Clan Wars. Or I haven't done so since 2012. I didn't want to play the Object 140, I didn't want to play the 430U, I didn't want to play the 268 version 4. Not because it's been nerfed, I still think it's very powerful in a game mode like this. I didn't want to take out my Super Conqueror into the battle. Excuse me, every single time and see how I would fare inside a Super Conqueror, and I can tell you a hell of a lot better than I probably would have done with the amount of pain that it's been with the EBR. So yeah, I wanted to use a brand new tier 10 vehicle, and I didn't want it to be the Swedish hull down vehicle because I knew that would be pretty much me just sitting on a ridge line and spamming heat rounds into people and hoping that they don't manage to catch me in my side armor or in my hull armor. I wanted to play the EBR because I wanted to see what kind of an impact wheeled vehicles could have playing against really good players in World of Tanks. Now, when you're playing in an EBR against, you know, the less competitive World of Tanks players inside the random queue, this vehicle whizzing around is incredibly hard to hit. Now, I'm not saying it isn't hard to hit for ranked players. It is still very hard, especially at good distances when the vehicle's going at 95 kilometers an hour. But people will aim a little bit better. They will have more rounds of higher shell velocity, especially as there's no tier 8 and tier 9 vehicles. Most tier 10 tanks have got good shell velocity, especially if they've got standard APCR, if they've got some kind of premium APCR like you have on the Super Conqueror, for example. And so that means the EBR is a lot more susceptible to damage. But still, I've really noticed that this vehicle can be exceptionally powerful, but it is map dependent, and I am on Malinovka, which clearly is, I'd say, the second best light tank map in the game. I'd say Prokhorovka is a little bit better, but Prokhorovka's a little bit of a funny one because of the way that Prokhorovka plays out, that it's this fight down the west, then fight for vision in the center, and then a fight for the hill in the east, that the EBRs kind of feel like they have to be a little bit more suicidal. On Malinovka, which is almost all of this map is traversable, apart from, should we say, the southwest, and then there's an area in the middle, although the area in the middle kind of helps out light tanks, because the fact that you're unable to traverse at that part means that there can be gaps in vision, or shall I say, you can stop the enemy from being able to get close to you so you can spot them at decent distances, which is where you want to have them, right? So Malinovka, definitely one of the most competitive maps for a light tank. It has been a case on some of the maps like Himmelsdorf. It's a bit of a struggle in the EBR. You're kind of just hoping that you're not really trying to target the top 3 finish all the time. You're more or less trying to just hope that you can finish in the top 10 to be able to get chevrons. And if you guys don't know about the chevron system, basically in ranked, you gain or lose chevrons depending on the outcome of the battle. And only one player on the losing team gets a chevron. Then after that, I think the next 4 don't lose chevrons, which is why a lot of people play very, very, very carefully so they can climb by not winning, but by just not losing badly. And when you think about it, if you play ultra defensively, sure, you're probably not going to influence your team to be able to win the battle very often, unless you have some kind of glorious defense at the end in a very close, a close battle. But if you kind of play hyper defensively, it's quite easy to end up in that top 5 bracket. And if you end up in the top 5, based on experience, then you don't lose any chevrons. If you don't lose any chevrons, eventually you're going to be able to finish in the top 10 enough on the winning team, when your team effectively carries you, to be able to climb. Now this hyper defensive play style, I don't think that the best players play like that. I think the best players are active, the best players get stuck in, the best players try and target the top 3 finishes, and they try and influence the win ratio of the battle enough to be able to dominate it. But what I was interested in, specifically this season, was seeing whether the EBR was able to influence enough battles, whether it was going to be a meta tank. And I think all in all that, yeah, this vehicle is actually incredibly competitive inside a ranked setting. The fact that you're just so fast, I'll have to stop for a second to be able to, that 260, ending up on a single hit point, oh come on man. Let's see if that's going to cost me any more of my hit points in this game. But the fact that the EBR is so fast, and the fact that it has the best camo, which I literally maxed out in this tank. I was even using the concealment, what are they called? Directives on this vehicle. I think I was able to max out the camo on this vehicle at about 47%. That's just simply outrageous. Even vehicles that have got really good view range, like 500 meters view range, really good view range, aren't going to be able to spot you until they get about 260 meters away from you. And that's when you're not in a bush, that's when you're driving around. Now the EBR 105, unlike all of the previous French-wheeled light tanks, can actually get a decent view range itself. If you min-max it with using Bond equipment, as I was doing on this vehicle, and you've got yourself vents, and you've got yourself coated optics, and you've got yourself every cruise skill that you could possibly imagine, you can get up to 460 meters view range. Even without using a directive, if you were so inclined, I guess you could use vent directive to get 465 meters view range. And that really helps on this vehicle, because now you're starting to see heavy tanks at near max ranges. Most heavy tanks, when they're moving, have got about 5% camo. 460, 5%, you're probably going to see them about 440 meters, or maybe 430 meters. And so that actually gives you a very decent distance to be able to spot your opponents without them seeing you. And that's really where the EBR has been very strong. On the other hand, the parts where the EBR has not been very strong in ranked, when you're having to fight in close quarters combat maps, and now your mobility doesn't really matter because the maps are so short and view ranges are kind of saturating, and they will be able to spot you over all of the avenues. And especially against light tanks. Light tanks have been absolutely brutal against the EBR with their real view ranges. We're talking about an RU-251 getting up to 530, 540 meters view range. Even a T100 LT, which has 390 base, can still get up to 510 meters view range, something that this thing can only dream of. And the T100 LT, for example, still has 42% camo, sometimes 43. You could probably even get it up to about 44% camo, which means that this thing will get spotted by a T100 LT before this thing spots the T100 LT. But when you do get spotted, I'd rather be spotted in an EBR, able to quickly wiggle my way out of the danger zone, hopefully, and not in the T100 LT. One thing that I didn't appreciate about these vehicles so much until recently, and after playing the T100 LT again in ranked and trying to get some chevrons on it, is just how amazing it is to not be tracked whenever your tracks get hit, or whenever your wheels get hit. When you get slowed down in this vehicle, it's not a death sentence. In a T100 LT, if you get double tracked, it pretty much is a death sentence. And so unless you want to try and play carefully for 90 seconds and wait for your repair kit to come back up to be able to use it again when you get tracked, which very, very frequently happens, then you haven't really got any other options apart from to play a French-wheeled vehicle if you want to play that hyper-aggressive attack style. And on a map like this, I've pretty much just dominated the vision. I've kept my enemy lit up. We've known where their important tanks have been going before they've even thought about getting there or in the process of getting there. And that just means that it's been very easy for our team. 5,000 spotting is no joke. That's 2.5 medium tanks, or that's 2 heavy tanks that I've enabled people to just wipe out on the enemy team. And that's excluding the 1,000 damage that I've done myself. And also, EBRs can be very nice for whittling down targets with their high explosive rounds, as you will have been seeing. And that's fantastic for taking out those low health vehicles on the enemy team that are just annoying, right? The ones that are on 50 health, you know, the hold down Super Conqueror on 50 health, the hold down Object 430U. They sometimes can be hard for your team to be able to spot those tanks and then engage them effectively. Of course, your team can fire high explosive rounds at them, but what I'm trying to say is that the EBR can kind of dig them out of the position that they're in with its vision, and then it can harass them. So in retrospect here, I should have probably loaded a heat round there to go through the side of the Object 430U. I was not expecting my high explosive round to do so little damage. Only 135, leaving him on 28. Nevertheless, what's this 430U going to do? There's no way he can manage to get me, and I can just keep him proxy spotted here for what will hopefully be a glorious victory with the Gorilla 15 and the Stritzfarn 103B. Now, one thing I'm going to try and do here is I'm actually going to try and splash it around the corner. I thought that maybe with the high explosive rounds on this vehicle that I could splash onto the Object 430U, but it was not to be. So why don't I just put a heat round into the back of this Soviet medium tank's head? Yeah, and that's a satisfying feeling, right? Something which definitely isn't good hold down, something which definitely doesn't have incredible armor, and it definitely isn't Soviet as well. And being able to play this in ranked, it feels a little bit different. Do I think that it's the best way to climb? No. You'd be far better to play a close quarters combat vehicle. If you've got yourself a Donkera, aka, I don't know what they're called, a Chieftain T95 hull armor thingy with the turret, I don't know. That thing is godlike. So are tanks like the Object 907. Vehicles like the Super Conqueror are great, but the Object 279E, that reward vehicle, is absolutely dominant right now. And having been on the receiving end of a few too many bad trades against the Object 279E, that's definitely going to be on my grinding list so I can use it in the next season of ranked battles. Irrelevant to playing meta tanks, we were able to perform admirably here in the Panhard EBR 105 with 1,413 base experience points, clearly first on our team via experience here. And while our damage wasn't great, I guess it was the kills and the 6,000 spotting that we did that more than made up for it. And as we didn't slam too many heat rounds here, we still made a profit with a premium account. Although, holy moly, that amount of penetrations, only 1 in 5 of our shells actually penetrated the enemy tank. I think you can see what we were doing with the high explosive rounds here. And the amount of crits you actually deal just by whiffing at the tanks, it's not bad to do 100 damage to them. If you hit 10 shells, that's still 1,000 damage. Although it's going to take you a long time to deal it, is really nice inside this French-wheeled light tank. And so the Panhard EBR 105, it's definitely viable in ranked, and for me, it was a very fun vehicle to play. I had way more fun playing this little French light tank than I did simply doing the grind last season in the Object 140. I don't think I'm going to be getting gold this season because of that. I think my performance was way worse overall playing these little French light tanks instead of playing, you know, your cookie cutter Soviet medium tanks and Soviet heavy tanks and also British heavy tanks. But at least I got to try something new, and maybe we'll have to take a look next season. Maybe I'll get back to basics, see if we can pick ourselves up the Object 279E, because sometimes I guess if you can't beat them, you're gonna have to join them. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below if you have been playing ranked this season, or if you have absolutely no cares to give for ranked. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.